Good evening, witches, warlocks, sorcerers, and adepts, to another episode of Knights of the Nephilim podcast, brought to you by my company, Celestial Oddities Radio. If you're listening live or streaming this after the fact, I would like to thank you for tuning in tonight. As always, I'm your host, Frater Crow, and I'll be joining you on this mystic and mysterious journey that we call Magick. You can listen from any platform that you feel most comfortable doing so, from iTunes to iHeartRadio, Amazon, Google Play, Spreaker, Deezer, CastBox, you name it, we are on it all, so feel free to go ahead and listen where you feel most comfortable, but click the like, share, and follow button, because the more that you do that, the more that it moves us up the podcast community rankings, the more that we're able to do with the show, and the more people that discover the show. It'll also keep you in the loop on all new episodes as they air, and allow you to jump back through our archives to listen to past episodes, and that way you're never missing a thing, and there's always certainly something for everyone. We will and do bring you a show 2 to 3 times per month from 8 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays, bringing on the best up-and-coming practitioners, authors, ritual implement makers, and everything in between. If it has something to do with ceremonial magic, high magic, and all forms of magic, we bring them on the show, interview them, talk over great topics and discussions, and it's always something for any, magic lover out there to partake in. You can listen, as I said, anywhere that you feel comfortable, but if you want to join us during the show and talk to us, and be able to interact with the show, you have to do that specifically through Spreaker, and that's either at Spreaker.com or through Spreaker on the app market. Now, that is Spreaker. That is our hosting company, and that'll allow you to instant message us during the show, and that way we can read off, your different questions, your ideas, your theories, things that you want to share with us during the show. I do make it a habit of mine to read those things off during the show. So please join us. We always encourage it. But we do have a great lineup tonight for you. As always, we always are bringing on very influential people, and tonight is no different. Before I jump into that, I would like to thank our sponsors, Goetic Impressions and Limitless Liberation. Both are very, very great companies in the field of making ritual tools and implements. If you're a practitioner in the magic sense, and you feel that you've always done very well for yourself, but there's something missing, something that could make your work a little bit more powerful and you don't know what it is, I suggest that you check out the links in our description, or when I read off their websites later on throughout the episode, you go on and check them out, because there is a chance that you're going to find something on their websites and in their market stores that speaks to you as it has to me, and it will certainly boost your workings that you're doing. Both companies make absolutely phenomenal tools, phenomenal pieces that go on your altar, and I can't say enough about these guys and gals, so make sure you check them out. And other than that, that's really about it. Thank you for listening in, and we are going to go ahead and get started. Tonight, we have Vega, or Ramses Vega, who is a ceremonial high magic practitioner and alchemist. He studies all different forms of magic and has been involved in this world for quite a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and kind of find out who he is as a person, as a practitioner and magician, and a little bit of what he's into and believes. So give him a warm welcome as I am about to do so, and let's join him and find out who he is. Welcome to the show tonight, brother. How you doing?
Hey, thank you, brother, for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
I love your show, man. Thanks.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I've been getting some great feedback from people, and it's always nice to hear that it is not necessarily a new idea, but being done in a different way, bringing, the greatest things of magic to the forefront so that people can learn from it, join in, and be a part of a community. That's what's really about, is joining hands and being a group, being a family that watches out for one another. We don't have to share the same views of magic, but we can help one another ascend and grow within our magic, and that's what's important.
I'm honored, man. It's an honor. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I think that's a big problem that going on these days is there seems to be so much hostility in the magical world, and it seems like there's so many people up against so many other people for their views. Oh, I'm a dark magic practitioner, I'm not into any of that light work, I'm not into any of that. Oh, I don't agree with people doing Kabbalah and using God names. Or then the opposite side, I don't believe in working with demon spirits, and it's blasphemy and all that. It's okay to work with different systems. We don't have to believe in the same things. You don't have to do what I do, and I don't have to do what you do, but the important thing is we can all learn from one another, whether we do those same practices or not. There's always knowledge and gnosis to be had.
Oh yeah, man. This is something I always say, that it's not the demon or the angel that does the direction of the magic, but the sorcerer or magician. So really, you can work with any kind of spirit, but the intent is always going to be up to you. So you can't really make them responsible for your decisions. And I think it's funny how some people don't like angels, but then they're over there praying to Satan and Lucifer, who are angels. And yeah, I think that there needs to be like a revising of the doctrines that they left us from the past generations, and rewriting. I like that all these authors that you're bringing on the show are rewriting some of the processes for magic, because they had a different point of view back then. Now we're in different times. They just quite don't fit in.
What's interesting that you say that too, because I think that people automatically, and don't get me wrong, it depends on your viewpoint, and I'm not saying that this is mine, but I think this is one option that there can be out there, that people want to think when they summon demon spirits that they're coming from the infernal realm, they're coming from the dark kingdom. When they summon angels, that they're coming from the heavens and the clouds. And they put this very distinctive separating line between the two sides, that they're coming from one realm, they're coming from another. But the thing is, what if they're not? What if you take the dogma and religion away from that? What if they're all just coming from the exact same place in the ethereal realm, and literally Lucifer is sitting next to Uriel, and the two of them are having a good time with one another and talking to one another? We don't know that. We just automatically assume we're going to call demons for evil and angels for good. But for anybody that's a true deep magic practitioner, you know that just you can call a demon and have him do horrible things, or you can have them do wonderful things. You can call an archangel and have them do wonderful things, or also destroy your enemies the same as any demon king could. And I think people miss out on that, and they think that it's all one-sided or another. There's no give or take, but that's not the case. Is that both sides are benevolent and malevolent, depending upon, as you said, the will of the practitioner. They always try to separate it, that there's no such thing as white and black magic. It's the person behind it. I don't necessarily agree with that. There is definitely practices of black magic and practices of light magic, but it is up to the will of the practitioner summoning these forces to choose how these forces are worked.
Oh, yeah. If you ask me, I would consider that you just said a little bit racist. If you take away the dogma and the indoctrination, it falls under racism. Like, you can't just blame something on somebody just because they're either from the dark side or the light side. Because if we have free will, they have free will. It's as above, so below. So what makes them think that they're just, limited into evil or into good? And yeah, there's definitely bad magic, black. I don't want to call it black magic, because to me, black magic is just like the dark side, like the night side of magic and day magic. So I think that you could use some kind of like evil magic to destroy an enemy or a disease or a curse, like you fight fire with fire. But also, I wanted to point out that in my personal opinion and my experience, I've realized that whenever you want to get something done, if you want to impress any spirit or have them participate, you got to get it done yourself. And then they kind of like, jump in and help out. But there is no such thing as, oh, I compel you to do this, like ordering. That just doesn't work that way. Try telling a human, I order you to do this. Even if you're the boss and he's the worker at your business, they're not going to do it, or they're going to, they're going to have something to say back. So manners always play a big part. And if the spirit thinks that you're worthy or worth helping, they'll help out, but they want to see you take the first step, you know?
I agree. I think that you can't just sit there and expect things to be handed to you. You very much have to be either preemptively beforehand doing these things and on the right path towards that goal, and then they help assist you in it, or after you make your request, immediately going to work on that. You can't just sit on the sofa watching TV, request that I'm about to get a brand new job and I'm going to be a CEO of a company and filthy rich, and then sit back and think that that's going to happen. You have to be out there working every day, not missing work, busting your ass to get where you need to be, put in that request, and then work even twice as hard afterwards, not missing a day. Every time they ask for someone to do overtime, you jump in on it, and then the door will all of a sudden open in a weird way that you weren't expecting for you to be at the right place at the right time. That's how it works. But so many people, and I think that shows true practitioners from posing practitioners, which is a whole different ball game. The people like, oh, I summoned this, this spirit, and they did this, and this for me. But when they start talking about how they just magically, boom, it happened for them, I have to call bullshit on that, because I think a massive majority of the underground magical scene is false. And I'm a very nice guy, and I love doing the radio show, and I love spreading knowledge. But I'm also the guy that will call people out left and right, and that's another part of the show. And what it's for is, folks, you got to understand what you're dealing with. So if you're going to pretend to be a magician, you should probably know how magic works, because I keep seeing posts of people posting things that just blow my mind, because that is not how magic works. That is not how summoning entities, whether angelic or demonic, whether lunar or astrological, it doesn't work that way. If you're going to try to pull it off, at least pull it off with some dignity. So, side note real quick, but no, absolutely. You have to be on the track to making it happen, or going to work to make it happen, and then it will. It won't just fall into your lap.
If I may add to that, I would like to maybe encourage people to question everything, every system. It doesn't matter who the order is. It doesn't matter who the prophet that left it is. Most magicians always encoded their information so that only certain people would know, and that was going on because of the persecutions and stuff. So just because you see it written down in a book that was translated perfectly doesn't mean that that's what they were intending to say, or doesn't mean that they intentionally wanted you to know. I'm glad that we're in an age where all the information is available, but still, there's certain things that don't fit in sometimes. And when you have that feeling that something's wrong, normally it's because it is. Like, they do it on purpose sometimes. So, yeah, you got to question everything, and eventually you'll start catching up to this, to these little, I guess they're like they put in lies or codes, or they just switch things around and try to confuse, or try to make you go a different way, just to separate exactly what you said right now, the real practitioners from the ones that are just trying to take advantage of the knowledge and stuff,
No, I 100% agree with you. And here's the basis of it, folks, is you can dress up a cake any which way you want. You can put any color of icing and sprinkles on that cake. It looks different each time, doesn't it? But the cake is still the same. When you get to the root of the magic, no matter what the system is, it is based off the same fundamental principles and usually off of the same things. It's just, it was mixed a little bit differently. A little bit of pinch of that compared to that. And it adds a little bit of different icing to it. But the cake of it and the root of it is all the same. And a lot of that is hidden behind obscurity and hidden behind lies and misdirections to lead you off of the path, because they don't want everyone finding this, especially during times of persecution where even obtaining a grimoire could get you burned at the stake or hung. So they would hide a lot of the things in there under a lot of falsehoods and a lot of misdirection. And even still today, a lot of lodges and magical sects out there will teach you wrong purposely from the get-go and see if you figure it out properly for yourself. I've went through that myself in organizations that I've been involved with, where I question my teachers and ask them, why are we doing it this way? That doesn't make sense from old ancient books that I've read and things I've discovered myself. It should be this way, and pretty much been told, shut your mouth, you don't know what you're talking about yet. But I knew it was because that's the misdirection, that I was stepping beyond my bounds of what I'm supposed to know that low in the order, so you had to work your way up. The misdirection has to happen. You have to weed out the weak to find the strong.
I think that a lot of people right now are talking about becoming a god, and what you just said that you hear in your head, like telling you something's wrong, that is God speaking to you through you, because you are a part of him, or it, whatever. And I think that there's a misconception about becoming a god, what it means. A lot of people think that by becoming a god, you're going to be able to control nature and, get revenge on the people who did you wrong and all that, but that would disqualify you as becoming a god or ascending. So in order to become a god, you have to drop a lot of those dogmas and a lot of those habits and human thoughts and human mentality that we all have, and try to transcend into a higher form of thinking and feeling. And it's very difficult to become a god, because then you got to go by some godly terms, and most of us are will struggle to even get close. And so, yeah, that's a lot of bull going on too about becoming a god. Like that is not what it sounds like.
It's not. I mean, the problem is people in the same breath will talk about becoming a god, but then the very next line will talk about seeking vengeance on their enemies. And the problem with that is even taking away dogmas and religions, not say good or bad or right or wrong. The problem with that statement is once you become God, once you become a God, you are so high in level of thinking and in just ability and thoughts that things like revenge and seeking retribution from your enemies doesn't matter anymore. You're a level above that. So when you're like, I have become a true ascended master, and then I'm going to smash my enemies, that right there proved that you are not an ascended master. In fact, that proved you're still very low down the totem pole. And I don't pretend to be a master adept. Do I have skills? Absolutely. But I know that I fall victim to my own lower self sometimes. I work hard to be my higher self, but do urges, addictions, emotions, feelings, desires sometimes take hold and take over? It does for all of us, absolutely. And to be a master, you have to master those things where you have full control of them. And one of that is retribution and revenge. And if you can't, move past that and not seek those things, then you'll never reach the level of true adept.
Yeah, I've seen proof that it does happen. I've seen humans actually go through that stage and maintain it. Probably not in person, but there is people that have in our time, reached a certain point of godliness and kept it at that point, and then had a rare death or transcendence experience. And I know that it does happen, and I know that everybody does belong to a part of God, and we're all somehow the same, like they say, the universe living itself. So we're all just by acknowledging that, you realize that we are God, but at the same time you are God too. So we can't disqualify the rest, even though they're not going to reach certain levels. They're still the same part that you are. They have the same potential, but who knows who's going to achieve it and who's not.
One person who I just for myself, and I don't know if you've ever listened to any of his work or any of his videos or anything like that, but is Sadhguru. Sadhguru is amazing. His lessons that he teaches on the videos and interviews that he's done and in his writings is so advanced, and the guy is never in any type of specific emotion other than just across the board happy. You never see him sad. You never see him angry. You never seen him thrown off by any question thrown his way. It seems he knows all the answers, and he's always at the perfect 0 point. He doesn't sway from one side of the pendulum to the other. He stays dead center. and it's a mastery of self, and this guy has that. And I would advise anyone listen out there, Sadhguru, Sadhguru, massive influence on things that I have done on the level that I would love to achieve. To have that much peace within yourself and in the world is true godhood. That is what, that's what it means, is when you rise above the pendulum and no longer fall victim to its sway, then you have mastered yourself.
Yeah, I think that sounds amazing, and I would love to get to a point like that. I try every day as a battle, and every day I think I do good, and kind of balancing out the emotions and not letting anything get to me, because first of all, I'm just probably looking at a phone to begin with, and then second of all, even if they are truth, like they don't affect me directly, so why should I even bother? And I'm more troubled with myself than to be troubled with somebody else's thoughts or opinions. So I always detach a lot from whatever. I really don't, I try to set an example just for so I can have something to talk about or to back me up. But other than that, I can't really consider somebody's opinion directly to affect me, or we all have an opinion, and that's it. That's all it is, an opinion. It shouldn't get you mad. It shouldn't get you.
If you fall victim to someone else's words, you've become powerless to them. If someone can say something to you and excite panic, frustration, anger, sadness, or sorrow, if they can say something to you that affects you to that high of a level and degree, then you have now, in part, become slave to that person, that they've been able to control you and sway you so easily with words. And that is, I think, one of the smaller forms of things that people need to master first and foremost, is those things, is to not let the words and worries and opinions of other people affect you, because who are they? You
empower them. You give them power.
Yep, exactly. If you let them do that to you, you've gave them the power to do it to you. They didn't do it themselves. You gave them that power, and you have to learn to master that first and foremost.
Oh yeah. Another thing would be maybe worshiping demigods or emanations of God. I think that it's okay to maybe venerate them and talk to them and ask for their advice, but about worshiping, I don't really think that we're in the age of worshiping things. If it's not the beginning, the beginning of it all before it separates into many emanations. So I think that they were on right about one thing. It's just like math. It starts with 0 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3. And that's the same thing for creation. It starts as nothing and then as 1 and then as 2 and 3. And they're all valid, but if you're going to worship something, let it be the beginning, the before anything else existed. So that would be what God means. According to me, God means one, the beginning of the nothing into something. And after that, you find a goddess, you find many gods, sons of God, and many goddesses, sons of God, daughters of God. And from there, they all have different personalities, and you kind of pick one and you relate to one or to the other, or you learn to hate one, or, no matter what, I think that we have to respect them, because first of all, there are you could say grandparents, parents, uncles, aunts, and just because it's a Hebrew entity or a Hindu entity doesn't mean that you have the right to talk shit about them or disrespect them.
No, I agree. I mean, you should respect them all because they are powerful entities. And you touched on base on something that's near and dear to me. I mean, I will say hell this entity or hell that entity, but where I think people misconstrue that is I don't worship any entity. And I think a lot of people hearing that right now are like, wait a second, what? Because they know me as a left-handed practitioner. They know that I in part, am a Satanist. But I do not worship Satan. I do not worship any of the daemon spirits, nor do I worship any of the angelic realm or any other spirits out there, planetary or otherwise. I am in reverence.
If they require worshiping, then they're not worth your time.
No, I agree, and I will give high reverence to these spirits. I will respect them. I will treat them with massive respect. I will sometimes be astounded by them and in awe of them, absolutely. But I do not worship them in the sense of a god. As you said, the first and foremost, before my left-handed path tendencies, before the Satanism aspect of me, I will always first and foremost come down to a hermetic standpoint of the all. That hermetics for me will always be my roots of everything. And I know a lot of people, they feel that you can't be deep into hermetics and also into the left hand, and that's ridiculous, because I think that Hermes Trismegistus had the best thoughts of anything or anyone that's ever come out there, that, the all is everything. All is in the all, and the all is all. And the 7 hermetic principles rule everything. I mean, it literally describes the universe in this, manifested reality as we see it. And that's it. There is no other God other than God itself. No, God doesn't have to be the Christian God or the Hindu God or the Buddhist God, Zoroastrian God. It doesn't have to be any of that.
And at the same time, it is all those,
Yeah, it's all of them. I mean, it's all of them, but it's not.
Either all of them or none of them, but, it can't just be one and not the other. Like, that doesn't make sense right there.
Well, it brings me to a good question, and I was going to bring this up later in the show, actually, but it's a good time now to segue into that. There is a lot of dispute and discussion on this topic in the underground magic community of there being no other entities other than... I don't want to say that there's no other entities, but for example, let's just go with the demonic side. That Azazel, that Bel, and Abaddon, and Asmodee, all of them are the same being with different faces or different masks, that they are all the same exact current, dressed up in different personalities of that current, but it's one thing. Then you have other people that believe they are all individually different entities and different sources, as you and I are different. Now, it gets tricky because, as from a hermetic standpoint, I would look at me and you as actually the same exact person. I mean, we're fractals of the God Force energy, but we're all individually have our own personalities, and we're all experiencing our own reality. So it's hard to kind of differentiate that, but do you believe that these entities, whether angelic, demonic, whatever it might be, do you believe them to be different entities, or do you believe them to be just a chameleon of sorts where it puts on different masks depending upon who you want to see?
Oh, no, I think that doesn't make sense at all because, as like we were saying in the Hermetics, as above, so below. So if you see a bunch of different humans that are the same entity at the same time, but they're not the same because they're different manifestations and lives at the same time, that means that that's happening above us too. So they're definitely their own personality, their own separate I am, that do emanate from the same life force, but they're not the same guy. It's like saying that, me and the neighbor are the same person, and, we're just wearing a different mask, which is kind of like I guess there's a confusion because it is happening, but it doesn't mean that we're the same.
Exactly, and that's where it does get confusing. It can't be. I'm exactly on the same page as you. As I agree that they are all individually their own beings. Now, yes, they might all come from the same source, the all. So, and therefore, they are actually all the same. But stick with us, folks. They are separate, at least in our opinions. I'm glad you think that way as well, because I see a lot of talk on that. In the occult side, and people saying that they are all the exact same being, that puts on a different face and a different vibe or feel to it when it shows up for you, so that Asmodee would be Azazel. And I have worked with a lot of these different spirits, and I find that to be insane, to believe that they are the same. They carry different feelings, different voices.
They feel different.
They feel completely different. They bring different parts of your life to being, and I can't believe that that's just a mask that it wears, changing what it can do for me. I believe that they are all individually separate things.
You know, what I've noticed about humans, that they always try to simplify things. It's like they try to say, okay, so this God and this God and this God is the same God. Like, that just makes it too simple, too easy, when life is not simple. Life is very complex. Life is very abundant and different. So if you see two very similar entities, you can't just say it's the same one just because they appear to be, or because they sound the same, or because they have a similar story. It's more like, you know, there's been eons and eons of time for the story to maybe repeat itself, or for the same entity to maybe come back as a different emanation or reincarnation. But each time it either changes or adds to the existence, and it's never the same again. That's the only thing that cannot be the same exact thing again. It's always something even better, or it could be something worse. So yeah, everything changes, everything evolves, and even if one of the sons of God would come again, it wouldn't be the exact same one that came before or before that, you know?
No, it's always different, and I think that even when we reincarnate, like you just said, that, you know, I don't believe that everyone reincarnates. I believe there are ways to ascend high enough that once you pass from this physical bondage, that you don't need to come back into this manifestation, but you can move on to other planes. Some of us do come back to relive it again, and when we do, we don't come back as the same person. I wouldn't come back as Frater Crow again. The essence, the root, the energy might still be there, but I would be a completely different thing or person experiencing this realm again in a new sense, in a new way, to learn new things. Because if you didn't get it right last time, why, as the maker, would I send you back to do the same damn thing again? I would give you a different life and say, oh, obviously you couldn't figure it out in the last one, so I'm going to mix it up and give you something different this time. And I think that's how it works for those that do come back, is it's completely different. It might be the same essence, but a different journey.
Yeah, I believe that's what the Bodhidharma was talking about when they say that, you know, when you ascend or descend, depending on what you do in this life, maybe the next life you could come back as an animal just because of what you were doing in this life. Or if we're already human, that means that we did something good in our past lives or existence, and, you know, we're on the right track, but we have to take advantage of this time to add more to our soul story, and maybe the next life we get something better than this. But it seems like a lot of humans are more focused on their animal or lower side, and, you know, who knows if they're going to be able to be born as humans again or as something better, and maybe even descend to animal intelligence, or some even to mineral or vegetable intelligence. Who knows? You know, murderers, all that.
Well, I think that plays a big part of it. That's certainly a valid, plausible possibility, that everything is vibration. Every single thing we see is vibration, from a giant boulder to a bird in the sky to the tree in front of you. It's all vibration. It's just different levels of vibration, higher and lower. Now, I would say that if you are someone who spends your days meditating and clearing your mind and working as hard as you can to ascend and truly reach that godhood, then if you were to have to come back, or after you pass this skin manifestation into something else, you're going to keep ascending to different higher frequencies, maybe beyond our normal visible spectrum, because you keep getting lighter and lighter, or higher and higher in vibrational frequency. Now, for those people who do horrible things in life that are going to keep you at a low vibration, or you're always depressed and always, the woe is me person who on Facebook every day puts another post about how catastrophic your life is, then chances are when you leave, you're probably not going to come back higher than you are now in vibration. You're probably not going to come back where you are in vibration. You're probably going to come back even lower because you just got knocked down a peg because you didn't reach the goal that you were supposed to in this past life. So I think that is a very big possibility.
It sounds logical, and I believe that you're going to confront yourself. You're going to be judged by yourself. So you're going to be the judge, and you're going to be the accused, and you cannot lie to yourself. So, once you're in front of yourself and it's telling you how you were, what you did, your conscience is going to be the one to throw the verdict on you, and you are going to know exactly what you need to repay or to get out of that situation. So a lot of souls, I believe, go to, they would call it hell in our times, on purpose, just to wash off the filthiness of how they feel after, Have you ever had an experience where you leave your body and you look at it and you're like, ew, that's me? Like your spirit is kind of like disgusted by the body because it looks like a piece of meat right there that, farts and has boogers and
you're
stuff.
Just a skin bag. Yeah, you're just this moving, walking skin bag, and you're like, man, that's who I am right now. I mean, it is only who you are temporary, though, too. I mean, but I think that's a big thing that people misunderstand is they believe, and I talk about it a lot in the different groups that I'm in and different people that I talk to in the magical side, that a big misconception, and I don't know how it is, because that's like one of the first things I learned myself years ago was you are not the body. You are not the mind. You are the life force that generates both of those. But people want to think that this skin sack is who you are. This is nothing. This is the car that you drive around in every day, all day long. That's all it is. This car will eventually break down and die, and you'll have to either move on and not need a car anymore, or you're going to come back and get a new car of some other sort. But this is just a vehicle. But then they make the second mistake. Okay, I'm not the car. I'm not the body. I'm me. I'm this person talking right now. I'm the thoughts that are coming out on this radio show. No. That is the GPS system. That is what's just leading you around and walking you to where you need to be and making you put logical thoughts together while in this reality. But then once again, that is not you. Cut beyond those two things, that life force, that energy, that spirit and soul, that is in fact you. The thoughts to that and the body and the vehicle it drives around in are just, extra add-ons to you. They're just the limbs of the tree, so to speak, and I think
the technology
really confuse that.
Yeah, I've always had that information somehow just downloaded into me since the beginning. That I somehow recognize when there's other life forms around me, even if it's just a tiny plant growing, like breaking through the concrete or something. Like I immediately acknowledge it as life, and it's kind of like I register it, like, oh, there's something alive right there. And it's like life recognizing life. Kind of imagine if you're on a different planet and like nothing is alive and you see like a vegetable, a little plant growing and you like, oh, I'm not alone, like there's something else here with me. And even the minerals, I think, that have some kind of a speck of life or information in them to react or act a certain way, But I see it as gigabytes. Minerals have 3 gigabytes, vegetables have 6, animals have 9, humans probably have 20, and then the supreme beings above us, like our bigger brothers, like the angels, demons, and all that, are probably like at 100 gigabytes, and then it just keeps elevating,
No, I agree. Is everything has some type of intelligence to it, all of it, from a speck of dust to the highest imaginable being out there is all operating on some type of intellectual platform. We might not be able to intertalk with one another and understand what the dust mite thinks, but it doesn't understand what we think. Doesn't mean that either of us are not thinking or not real. It's real. It's happening. And I like your analogy there of, we take things for granted so heavily in life that you just walk down the street. You walk past the park or through the park. You walk and go get a coffee. You come back. You sit on your couch or sit on your front porch. You don't think much about those actions, but you just walk past 5 million blades of grass 200 trees, 1,000 people. And you don't think about those things, but every one of those things is a living, operating being, and in most of which are made of minerals and organisms that are all living as well. We are giant clusters of life. And if you threw someone... Exactly. And if you threw someone on a planet with no life at all, you would quickly realize within, a couple hours, a couple days of, wow, I'm utterly alone up here. There is no life. And if you stumbled upon a piece of grass, you'd say, oh my God, there's a piece of grass. Yeah. It's alive. So precious. And then you would realize how precious it is. Now, with that being said, I'm one of those guys that if I don't do it when I mow my grass, so I'll be honest with that. But like when I go pick a plant, like I grow spices and things of that nature, and when I go pick them, I will actually talk to them and say, like, I thank you for growing so big and strong. I hope that it's okay that I pick you for my ritual tonight. And I do so. I talk to them because they are living beings. And when you pick them, they've lost their life and they served a purpose, and they've been a part of my ritual that night to help amplify my workings. And they all work hand in hand, but they should be honored. They should be appreciated because they are alive, the same as you are. People want to put more respect on something that's bigger. A person's more important than a bird. A rhino's more important than a deer. You made me remember
something. Last time somebody was talking about sacrificing a dove or something like that, and I told them, why don't you grow a plant and spend the whole year growing it, and then at the end of the year, you honor it, and you say that you're gonna use it for that purpose, and I bet you the plant is going to be happy that it lived all that time with you, that you took care of it, and it's going to give you its life force for your intent. Or even if that's too much for some people, I was like, okay, so here's another option. Throw your iPhone into the fire as a sacrifice. That person, I don't even want to say how that person reacted, but that was out of the question. So I'm like, okay, all right, that just proves everything. Like, they rather sacrifice a poor animal's life, thinking that they're going to impress a deity, when really to impress a deity, you got to raise an animal back to health and release it, or do something that really takes effort, changing in your life. And even then, sacrificing something is more of a primitive way of thinking of humans. They feel like they got to convince or prove to something that they are faithful, when that's just their own conscience telling them do this so they could believe you. It's kind of like when you lie as a little kid and you go out of your way to try and make them believe you. All that I don't approve of sacrifice.
I look at it from two different angles. Now, personally, myself, I never, harm animals in any type of way and make a sacrifice of that manner. Now, I do see where some people can see it as being an important thing to do, and I'll take two sides on that. First and foremost, as you said with the plant, that is exactly my view on it. If you grow that spice or that herb or that plant from a seedling, and you spend all the time watering it and moving the pots back and forth to get it in the sun, and you make sure the bugs don't eat it, and you spend a year growing and harvesting that plant, and then you respectfully pick it and offer it during a ritual to a deity as a sacrifice or as a token of appreciation, that is going to have a lot of sincerity. And it is truly a sacrifice. You're giving up something that you care about and put your time into. So that is going to resonate heavily. Now, people think that doing that with an animal will automatically give them better graces in the eyes of the deities. But here's the thing. If you don't care about that animal, if you just grab a random animal that you don't give a shit about and kill it, chances are it's not going to do a whole lot for you, because unless you cared about that animal, that's the sacrifice. The sacrifice isn't just taking life. People get that word misconstrued. They think sacrifice, killing something. No, sacrifice is giving up something that means something to you. You are sacrificing something to this deity deity saying, I am asking you for help, and in return, I will give you something that means something to me. Or I will sacrifice my phone, as you said. I will throw the device that has all of my attention wrapped into it to show you that this is how much I am in reverence of you and how much I want your help and respect you. They resonate with that. If you just grab a random animal and kill it, if you didn't care about that animal, chances are it's not going to do any more than a random plant would. But if it's something
or
like your own
pet,
pet,
like backfire and curse you. Like,
yeah, exactly.
The animal's not going to give you its life force. It's going to fight for it to the last second, and it's still going to like fight for it after. So I think that in the voodoo practices and Santaria, to begin with, when they were given the information, I think that they were given wrong information on purpose just to misguide them, to dethrone them, because they were they were descendants of what's it called, the queens and kings. They had a generations of descendants from actual royalty, but they wanted to diminish that race and make them less in time, and they give them all this false information on purpose. And now there's a lot of that going on over there on that side of the world, and they just don't understand that information is wrong, and it was on purpose that they gave them to that. So a lot of people get offended when you tell them about those things, because they say that their ancestors have been doing that for hundreds of years, but they were very gullible to whoever was trying to manipulate them. And I think that all that should be revised and rewritten and changed, including Solomonic, including Hebrew, all that.
I believe that, there's certainly a lot of smoke screens in it, where I think that sacrifice does cause heavy change. It's a trigger item. So what I mean by that is, I'm a paranormal investigator. I go out and investigate a lot of paranormal locations. You find items that for some reason interacting with that item, and I always do so in a respectful way, but finding something that you interact with that is going to trigger a response from that spirit because for some reason it meant something to it, and it was able to really open up the doorway. That's what I feel animal sacrifice is it's not you doing that, is not you impressing the deities or gods and opening those doors. What that is it's a trigger item within yourself. Once you cross the line of the taboo to yourself, it allows you to reach that deeper state of gnosis, unfortunately. And I think that's why people do it. A lot of times people think that by doing that daemon is impressed. No, you doing that crossed in your own mind any restraint that you had, any hindrance you were holding yourself back with. You've now destroyed that, and you've now crossed that taboo line and opened the doorway fully. So sometimes that thrusts people fully into that realm that they are trying to get in, that they're holding themselves back with. But the animal's life being lost and the blood from that animal, I don't believe in most cases is what's actually doing it. It's a trigger item for your own mind to get to that level you weren't allowing yourself to reach. So if you can learn to train and do yourself the hard way and do it without those type of items, you can reach the same end and nothing would have to die. Now, the side thought to that would be, though, is there are certain very dark arts that I believe it is beyond just a trigger item. There are things that for some reason blood is the exact opener of certain gates and astral temples and gates out there that can't seem to be opened otherwise. But I would say before you sacrifice an animal, give your own blood. I have done blood rites many times myself and as my own. I don't feel the need to go out and kill an animal to do that. I don't have any qualms with people who do. I might not agree with it, but I'm not going to argue other people's religions or other people's viewpoints and magic and things of that nature because they grew up with different backgrounds than me. But with that being said, I've never felt ever in any of the 17 years of practicing magic that I've ever had to actually kill another being or human or animal or anything. The only thing I've ever sacrificed is either my own life force or plants that I've grown, like I said, which I've had tremendous effects from.
Yeah, we go back kind of to like the inherited religions that they left for us. And for example, when the spirit, the God Jehovah told, was it Lot? No, it was Abraham to kill Isaac. If any entity was to come and tell me to kill my son, I would seriously just, laugh at it. Seriously, I would be like, you know what? If you need proof, or if you want to kill somebody or something, you kill it yourself. I'm not gonna kill it. Like, I would defy any god if they told me, do this, do that. I wouldn't follow up on that. And that's the thing about humans, that they like to be told what to do and they don't question it, So there's something really wrong about that. Yep. There's something really wrong about that. And
no, there is.
I would know immediately. Immediately, I would know that something's wrong. And why is this entity asking me to do this? I'm not going to do it. I can't.
I think a lot of people make mistakes too. They believe that what shows up always is exactly what they called. And I mean, a lot of times, if you do the ritual properly, then 99% of the time, what does show up is what you have summoned. But if you are unexperienced, and if you are doing things wrong and taking shortcuts and maybe don't know your backgrounds of magic heavily enough, you can very well call on a specific deity of sorts and something else show up in its place and pretend to be that. And I think people make a mistake there. And if you're one of those people that are gullible to do anything that you're told, you could have a hell of a problem when you call something thinking you're talking to this spirit and a trickster show up and start telling you to do all kinds of wild things. And you start to do them and find out that you never were working with who you thought, because it's not going to usually come as their words. It's going to come as thoughts in your head. But all of a sudden you're wondering, why after I called so-and-so am I thinking this way and these things are happening in my life? It's because something else is probably toying with you, and that's something you have to be careful of.
Yeah, I remember one time, one of my big experiences that impacted my life was when one of those entities came to me. I wasn't calling or nothing, and all of a sudden the birds started singing a song that I've never heard them sing before, and somehow I understood what they were telling me. They were saying to beware that they were coming. So I tried to run, and I have a circle where I was feel safe. So I tried to run to that place, but in a second, the entity was already next to my ear saying, "You're at my disposal. You don't have you're not inside your circle. You're not in your safe place. You're at my will." And all I could think about was that little speck of energy or of life that we were talking about earlier. That's a piece of God. That's the only thing that I had left. So even though it was using me as a puppet to speak to myself, it was saying certain things that I was just saying, hey, God, if I get in trouble for these things that are getting thought through me, I'm going to need a court case. I'm going to need a trial, because this is not me. And somehow I just knew that if we're made out of the same speck of life, that's the only thing that they can't take away from me. So all I could do was make that little speck shine, so that somehow I felt safe, that they couldn't do nothing to me. They that's one thing they can't take away from you. You have a place in existence, and so do they. So it's all we got in the end.
Well, that speck is very important, and I think people forget that, especially in the grips of terror or fear of a much more powerful being, or what appears to be much more powerful, is they lose sight of that and they let that light go out. And then once the candle's out, you can't relight it again, usually pretty easily. So you have to keep that candle lit. And what I mean by that, folks, is your inner candle, your inner light, that whenever you find yourself in the presence of something darker than maybe what you had fathomed or thought of, as long as you focus on that bright ball of energy, that life force of yourself, every breath in, or every breath out, I should say, you are fueling that ball, and it grows in intensity and size. Every breath in, you're breathing the energy from it, so now you're illuminating your physical body while feeding and charging your astral body. If you keep those things in mind, you can combat most all forces. So when something like that happens, it will usually flee.
It comes as a reflection, like a reflex of your instinct. Your instinct naturally turns it on, and you know that it's on, and you know that it's gonna help you, like if you have to. But it turned out to be that this entity was only coming to inform me or give me knowledge. And the first thing it said to me was that God had given him dominion over everything under the sky. So I knew that he wasn't here to hurt, but at the same time, it's a very scary feeling to feel that there's so much power, such power that I even somehow knew that the trees were silent. The whole sound of the whole city just like flew away with the birds when they flew away. And as it spoke to me, it told me, it gave me a lot of information. I would look at the stuff, like at the ground, the plants and everything. Everything had codes with information, and I knew what they meant. And somehow I knew that once that entity left, I wasn't going to be able to know all that information. So it told me to write down the time and the hour and to check what Jupiter was doing that day, because when Jupiter was doing what it was doing, they're allowed to come. And the scary part is how even nature allowed it, it allowed it to break certain rules that are like unbreakable to humans. And it was, now I think about it and I think it's amazing, but at that moment, I just wasn't ready for it. It said to me, "What, you've been calling for years. You thought we were never going to come?"
And that's the thing, is a lot of people don't realize that you can be a practitioner for years and years and years, and you just say, why has no huge moment happened to me? I've had great things happen, but why has no just life-shattering moment happened? And it doesn't happen every day, every week, all the time. Sometimes it happens more frequently to some than others. It might only happen once in your life. But if you stay steady on the path and you keep pushing, there will be a moment that is just undoubtedly the most mind-shattering moment you'll ever experience in this exact existence. That, as you said, did you think will never come? They will come. And like you said,
and you'll know when they come. It's not like, oh, I think they came. It's like you'll know.
Yeah, you'll
things
know.
Will happen.
Things will happen. And the thing is, you nailed it with saying what was the astral bodies doing at that time, or the celestial bodies doing at that time, because it's like a clock. It's like a cuckoo clock.
Yeah.
The cuckoo doesn't come out every second, every minute. It only comes out when the gears line up exactly right for that door to open, and then it comes out quick, it goes back in, and it vanishes again for another hour, for another day, whatever it might be. When you're dealing with planetary elements, whenever the planets line up an exact way, it opens up astral doorways that if you are able to focus your energy enough towards that doorway, pick up the energy enough to actually intercept it, and do it at the right times that those bodies are aligned, unfathomable things can happen. You will open up gateways to worlds you don't even have the imagination to fathom, and they'll open before you. And like you said, you'll understand code, you'll understand things that you didn't think you could, because at that moment they are letting you see beyond what you are capable of normally seeing.
It's like downloading information from a cloud, from the internet or something, directly into your brain. And the way they talk, how they use, like it was using my phone, and at the same time it was using my brain, and at the same time it was using sounds to complete certain words or to talk. And everything was just so surreal that no matter how long I've been doing this, like, it was pretty scary because of the bending of the rules. That's the scary part, that they bend the rules that are unbreakable, unbendable. And all I wanted was for everything to go back to normal and for the birds to start singing again. So when it asked me what is it that I want, the only thing I said was nothing. There's nothing you can give me that I want. Like, if you want, you could come and talk to me anytime, at any day. But I don't think there's anything that I want. Like, I was just happy that finally like something came, and apparently somehow that granted me a gift, because maybe my mistake would have been to ask for something. It even said, like, you want treasures? You want to be able to fly in the wind? Like, what is it? And I said, no, I don't want that. Why? Like, that's something, treasure is something I could get on my own, and flying will probably kill myself, So it's like, those aren't things that tempt me, So in the end, it gave me the recipe of calling him if I ever change my mind. And I don't think that, I'm ever going to need them like that, but maybe reserve it for one day, a life and death situation, maybe, you know. But other than that, I don't think that there's anything that they could give us that we can't accomplish ourselves.
And that's it. I think that's
other than knowledge.
That's the point. Is my hunger has never been for the fame and for the fortune or any of that. The reason I am a magic practitioner, the reason that I summon spirits and work with angelic and demonic spirits is not for petty revenge or for, like I said, riches and treasures. It is for knowledge. I am power hungry for knowledge. And that's, like you said,
that's the only thing that free. They can give you.
Yeah, and it's what they give me is I learn things that I couldn't normally have learned. I will summon a certain specific entity, talk with them, and ask for help. And then over the next several weeks, things fall into my lap that it just doesn't
They'll be right in front of you. Yeah, they'll be right in front of you. You'll walk out of the door, you turn the corner, and it's like right there what you needed to like accomplish. Or like the sign or message that you were waiting for that's going to take you towards that direction. Like, that's amazing. Like, I am happy that I could die any day now, knowing that there is something out there other than just like what we see in front of us. And I don't need to prove it to nobody, or I don't need proof, because I already know. Like, it's just something that I don't need nobody to prove it to me or nothing to prove to. You know, it's there, and I could die happy knowing that I discovered it. And I'm just, you know, thankful to God that it gave me the capacity of you know, picking up on that kind of knowledge and that kind of information, because sometimes right in front of you and you can't see it, but if you look close enough, like, it's there, and it's always been there.
I agree 100%. Now, on that note, we're going to take our first break. So, folks, I want to talk to you about our sponsors that we have on the show. And first and foremost tonight is Goetic Impressions, which was formed as a partnership between Ben, who is Frater Adamastro, and Sor Alara, with the intention to bring ritual, accurate magical tools to the public for affordable prices. One of the largest barriers to entry for new practitioners looking to experiment with the magical with the magic of Western grimoires is how expensive and difficult to find real ritual tools are. They first launched with a Kickstarter to bring their Goetic medallions to life, and since then have also expanded with an Enochian toolset, and most recently a Satanic medallion and altar set, which is currently live on Kickstarter. With over 20 years of magical and occult experiences across a range of traditions, Goetic Impressions is the place to find affordable, high-quality ritual items. You can check them out at www.goeticimpressions.com. Again, that is www.goeticimpressions.com, and use promo code KOTN1120, and that is good for 10% off from the 1st of November till the last day of November. So all of this month of November, you can use KOTN1120, and that will give you a nice 10% discount off of your overall order from goeticimpressions.com. So check them out. Amazing tools that these guys make. In fact, I use, and I've said it before on past episodes, I use their Solomonic Goetic Circle and Invocation mat, and I got to be honest with you, I've had some amazing results with it. I like to mix up my circles and my platforms and procedures. Sometimes I'll draw my own circles out. Sometimes I will use circles that I've made in the past. Sometimes I will pull out this Goetic mat from Goetic Impressions, and you know what? I've had amazing results and all, but to be able to buy a pre-made mat from another company and it work doesn't happen too often, and these guys have done so. So make sure you check them out, and that's Goetic Impressions. All right, brother, so we're back, and I wanted to ask you, kind of leaving off where, or kind of picking up where we left off, I should say. Magic is kind of that, not to be, using a pun here, but it is magical in the sense that I find magic to almost be like hacking. It's life hacking. It's you taking the code, as you said before, you could almost see like the code of the grass and the code of the things around you like it's a program, and you slip in a code of your own into that matrix there, and it absorbs right in, and it doesn't look any different than before. Everything goes on the same as before, and you're like, okay, no one notices. But now the program has slightly been rewritten, and now the things that you've requested or asked for have now changed. You've rewritten the program. Or another way of looking at that is you've cut the tapestry, and you sewed in a new piece of your own fabric that matches identical to the original tapestry. No one can tell. It looks exactly the same, but it'll never be the original tapestry again because you've sewn your own fabric in. And that's what magic to me is it's sewing in your own fabric to change the original rules and restrictions of the bounds that were kept by to create something new that most of the time goes unnoticed to the rest of the world. But you know that you have changed that code or that piece of fabric, and now new things come of it. So I like how you did mention the fact that whenever you were visited by this specific entity, that you were able to see the code, because that is very much what it is. People call this a matrix for a reason, that we are certainly in some type of spiritual matrix.
Oh, yeah, just to know that everything that you see in front of you is made out of millions of particles that are not even touching each other. That's proof right there that we're in some kind of like mini version of, I mean, it would be like a mini version of the universe or galaxy, but at the same time, a bigger version of what we consider like a internet or like the micro universe. So, yeah. I believe that whenever you have a question, all you have to do is look up or down. That's how you get your answer. Some things that you cannot see above you, all you have to do is look below you to see what's going on down there, and then apply it to what's above you in a higher version, and you'll get the answer. So also that hacking part is definitely the way to go, because it's a way of thinking outside the box. It's like stepping beyond the threshold or the limit that they set for you as a human being. Like, okay, like this is your limit, this is what you should think, this is how you should feel, and you're like, no, like I'm just gonna go a little bit beyond that and try to like hack the system into getting what I want. But you know, it also takes work, and it's not like a easier thing. It's just like another way that most don't take. So it's kind of like choosing the dark path with thorns instead of the one with sunny skies and flowers. That, you know, it'll be longer but nicer, and then this one's shorter but dangerous. So yeah, it's kind of, you know, you risk a little bit, but you also get a good outcome out of it. So it just depends on the personality, on the person. I always said, throw me in a room with a piece of hay and I'll use it for magic. I mean, it really depends on you and your state of mind, your belief, and your will.
Well, it is, because, I mean, everything really, in a sense, is magical. I mean, when you sit on a chair and you're sitting there and it's holding and stabilizing you up, but as you said, it's millions of particles and atoms that are not even truly together, and there's separation between all of them. You are not sitting on a totally solid object, but yet somehow you are floating in air. Everything is magical. It's just that is instilled into your brain from birth as one of the rules of the world. You don't question the rules because you're born with them. But everything else is crafted to you. You learn everything from your parents or from your guardians or from the things you see, hear, and feel around you. Those are impressionable rules that they can change if you learn to change them. But there's ones that can't normally be changed unless you become a master, like the chair. I mean, when you sit on that chair, it's always going to hold you. Unless you can find a way to puzzle your mind and turn that chair back into atoms, it's going to hold you up. But everything else is impressionable, and it will guide how you live and think. But if you can defuse that and go back and pick all those things apart, you can restructure it in a different way, and that's when the wildest things can become, you know, very available.
I mean, that's like it grabs hands to that logic, because if you already know how things work, eventually you can make them do something else. But, you know, no matter what, it's like you can't make anything disappear because of the specific magic that you just mentioned. And I'm glad that you did, because some people always ask me, like, so what's magic? Like, you know, they think magic is like making things appear or disappear, but the magic is that, you know, if something is already there, maybe you could switch it to a different thing or make it look like something else, but it can never disappear because it's already there. The magic won't let you change that from the reality. So it's like what keeps the chair being a chair, and what keeps those atoms from mixing up with your atoms, even though they're all not touching and all interacting. So the magic is what keeps the sun, the planets, and everything in place.
It is.
I mean,
those are the big rules.
Yeah, those rules can't be broken, but they can be maybe manipulated into something else. But it would just be like passing it over onto something else, but you can't really get rid of it, you know, like make it disappear.
No, you can't. I mean, you play within the bounds and the rules of the rules. Now, there are a few select, very powerful people out there that can alter those main pillar rules, and even they can't break them, but they can alter them. And that's when you have people that live to be 120, 130, and you say, what? But look it up. There are people that have defied normal death because they've learned to bend those rules. Some of them are just by chance, but there are magic masters out there in Hinduism and Buddhism that have lived for a very long time.
In Tibet.
Yeah, Tibet and the magics. Yeah, they learn and do things that don't seem possible, and that is higher forms of magic. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people that can get small things and summon forces to change small things in their life or find quick fame or quick fortune and those things. And even though some of them might seem great and you say, holy shit, that was amazing what this guy did. A lot of those things that people talk about as being these most mind-blowing things in magic, truthfully, when you get down to it, are just like a higher stage of candle magic. I mean, candle magic's the basis. Yeah. I mean, the people still can do amazing things with candle magic, but even evocation and invocation and different things of this and astral doorways, they can be amazing, but that's still only a higher version of candle magic, so to speak, because there are people that can truthfully bend time, bend the illusion fully and control it to high degrees. Now, they can't completely dissolve it, but they can do things with it that are just... You
don't even have to go that far. Like, you just have to look at your phone or your TV or your remote control, and you see how amazing it is that, you know, they got the right recipe to make it work. And even if you go to the Andromeda galaxy, to a different planet, and you put that stuff together, it'll work the same thing, because, you know, nature already thought of all these formulae. All you did was discover the perfect formula to make it work, and now you could turn on the TV from a few feet away without even touching it, or you can talk to me. We're talking right now. You're in one side of the world, me in another, but we're talking, and that's like amazing how our voice could just travel through that device, and you're hearing me over there, and it's like 1 second apart from what I'm saying. And, you know, that to me, like, that's proof that amazing things are out there. All you have to do is discover them and get the right formula. And they're also dangerous because they could explode on you and they couldn't hurt you. So you gotta get the right recipe and get it perfectly. Otherwise, you're playing with fire or electricity that could kill.
Well, that's because, as you said, technology is magic as well, and people don't look at it like that. But just as you had said right with your own words, it could explode, hurt you, or kill you. Well, so can magic. When you ask a spirit for help, it might help you, but it might cause some things to happen that you weren't expected to throw your life, you know, in a whirlwind. So anytime you're dealing with magic, it can do good and bad things. But people are strange in the fact that they can pick up their phone, search an item that they were looking out on, buy it, it'd be at your doorstep a day later. They can jump on and I can program my phone to control my TV, the heat in my house, turn on my car remotely. You can do wild things all from your phone, but they won't blink an eye. That's awesome. I got this phone that does that. I can use my energy force to slide something across a table in front of you without touching it, and you will shit your pants. And it blows my mind. I don't understand that. You'll literally see me turn on my car with my phone, and you're like, that's cool. I move a candle with my hand, and you're like, what is going on here? Something's not right. And they're both equally amazing, but somehow we are truly sheep in the fact that we see mind-bending things every single day, all day long, and we somehow are made and programmed to believe that they're no big deal. We see things that are not nearly as mind-bending from time to time on rarity that we treat to be the wildest things we've ever seen. And that right there proves to you folks that we are being hypnotized and conditioned by greater forces than ourselves. Now, before we jump any further back into it, I do want to make sure I give my other sponsor a quick shout out here. We do have Limitless Liberation, which was inspired by both Lucifer and Belial. I'm going to read this from the owner's words, and it says, Lucifer has been with me most of my life, as far back as I can remember. Belial, I started to work with when I was going through a very difficult part of my life. He completely turned mine and my family's life around for the better in a very short period of time. In return, he asked me to create Charger for him. He showed me the design, so I created the first Charger for Belial, and Lucifer wanted one next. From there, I had spirits lining up for requests for magical items. Some are control freaks, others will just inspire. They all are so individually different, but every single item created has power within it. Each item operates on many levels. They operate as an anchor for the spirit you're working with, thus aiding easier connection between the two of you. They also operate like a power cell or battery, where they already come with an inherent energy to them, but they become stronger as you feed them and pull from them during ritual, as well as strengthen your workings. Limitless Liberation continues to grow to honor spirits that we love to work and build relationships with. You can find out all of Elena's work at www.etsy.com/shop/Limitless Liberation. And again, that's etsy.com/shop/Limitless Liberation. And as I said, all of my other episodes, both of my sponsors are amazing in what they do. Limitless Liberation, as I just read, makes power cells or pyramids of power, like I like to call them, and they're phenomenal. They do add not only a great look to your altar, folks, but they do add a power. Every one of them is unique, hand custom made to what it is you're looking for, whether it be angelic, demonic, planetary, whether it be something completely separate from entities themselves and it just be something that means something to you sigil-wise or magic-wise. She can make you a custom pyramid of power that will amplify your works. And it works. It'll amplify the workings you do in an unexplainable way. As she said, almost like a power cell or battery on the middle of your altar. So if you are someone like myself whose main influence in magic is the summoning and working with deities, I would suggest checking out her work, ordering a custom pyramid of power for yourself, and just notice the difference in the work that it gives you, because it certainly will. Make sure you check out Limitless Liberation. All right, brother, we're back. We have a little bit of time left, and we'll be wrapping up here. It's been great talking to you tonight. I have a few more things I wanted to pick your brain with, but I do want to jump back. I'm doing this a little bit out of order tonight. I wanted to mix it up. We
That's
never did.
My fault, yeah.
No, that's okay. We never did ask you, how did you start out in magic? What brought you to becoming a practitioner? Tell us a little bit about your story of how you became who you are today.
All right, so the practice and study part, I guess I'm going to dare to blame it maybe on cartoons like He-Man, Thundercats, and maybe even My Little Pony back in the 80s. But the magic part, they always told me since I was small that I inherited the power from my great-grandfather, who passed away days before I was born, and all he wanted to do was meet me, but he told my mom that they weren't going to allow him to meet me, so he used to talk into the stomach and talk to me all the time, and I used to jump around in there. And they say that he had a spirit that was always with him that one time scratched him across the back, and he had a scar in his back of 5 fingers. And that's because he made my great grandmother cry. So when I was born, my great grandmother took me in like I was her son, and she I spent most of my childhood with her, because she would sleep alone, or so I was always with her. And since I was very young, she used to tell me all these stories about that kind of stuff, and we experienced a lot of things. So to me, since I was a little kid, I already knew magic was real, and I experienced things that normal kids, now that I think about it, don't experience. And then I noticed, like, all the stuff that I was into, like those kind of cartoons, when I see them at this age right now, I realize, like, whoa, like, that had a lot of influence on probably many kids from that age. That got me into, like, liking church a lot. So I started off with church, trying to find out everything, like being very interested in the Bibles and saints. But then it got to the point where, like, they would repeat stuff that I already knew. So I would tell my mom, like, I already know all this. Like, I need, like, why don't they ever say nothing new, So that hunger for more knowledge, for more information, led me to pick up a book when I was very young. It was called The Book of High Magic, and it had, like, works from Abramelin, Paracelsus, and, all the good Solomon, all the grandmasters. And I remember acquiring that book many times in my life, and my mom would, like, find it and, like, throw it away, or find stuff like that and throw it away. Like, all of a sudden it would disappear. All of a sudden my mom would come to the house talking about how Smurfs were from the devil, and there I am digging a hole in the ground, like, trying to hide all my Smurfs so that they wouldn't throw them away. And then, like, years passed, and I went back to go get them, and I never found them. So I felt like they, like, covered, like they left, They say that when I first started talking, my first word was cadabra, and that wherever I would go, I would always call cadabra. They always wonder what that was. It was my imaginary friend. So there's a lot of things that make, like, now that I look back, I was very different from all my cousins and all my brothers and my sisters, and somehow I feel like I was chosen, maybe by my great grandfather, or maybe already, like, predestined. But my mom blamed it on my name too. She thought that because they called me Ramses, that maybe that's what made me the way I am. And she always said that maybe they should have called me Juanito or Jose or something normal, like, so that I would have been more normal. But now I'm thankful that they didn't. I really, really am thankful that I didn't turn out like one of my cousins that just, looked up to his brother and, like, copied everything that his brother did, so that now they're, like, examples of the family. I'd rather be a black sheep anytime than be part of the herd,
Well, I think that's an important thing, and I think, not to go back to one of the analogies I did earlier, but I think that's stitched into the fabric for people like us, because if you look over most practitioners, and I'm speaking actually magic practitioners, not the 90% of the crowd out there that talks about things they don't actually do. As we mentioned earlier, I always like busting people's balls on that fact. But when you talk about the actual practitioners out there who are getting in the circle, who are doing works of magic, they usually grew up different. They usually grew up, as the black sheep of their family or even of their friends. They were always kind of strange, and something a little bit different, myself included. I definitely was a strange kid growing up. I'm still strange now. I had two older brothers. I was nothing like them. I was nothing like anybody else in my family, and still am that way today. I am a night and day difference from everyone that is in my bloodline. And I grew up seeing spirits from a very early age. I grew up seeing and hearing things that no one else could see or hear. And then eventually other people with gifts like mine would be able to back that up, that I was truly seeing something and I wasn't crazy. But I always had a huge imagination. And just, the long story short, was always a little bit off compared to everyone else. And from all the different people I've talked to that are real practitioners, almost 99% of the time that is the case, and I think there's a reason for that. I don't think that we were weird, which made us into magical practitioners. I think we were born magical practitioners, which is what made us weird.
Into a weird world, actually. It is them that are weird, not us. Like, this has been going on for hundreds of years, and it's actually like, less and less each time because of that way of thinking that the majority haven't imposed. But I just, even though it was kind of hard as a kid, I wouldn't have it any other way. And if I ever saw another kid going through it, like, I would definitely let them know that it's all worth it. So to just stay in there and don't let them change them, because maybe, like, some people do change a kid if they see like a certain type of mentality, like showing up, like they'll try to change it and maybe they'll accomplish it, but they'll suppress it, and that's traumatizing for the kid, first of all, and then that's like trying to mold your kids into you, and I don't think that the people that are doing that to their kids are a good example to mold to, you know. So I think we're in better times now, and maybe there's a better opportunity for kids like us that grow to actually unfold all that. And if they start practicing since they're young, if you see that your kids are like showing some kind of like power or talent, like you should encourage it and help it and see where they end up, you know, like educate them about that, and don't put fear in there. Don't tell them they're going to go to hell and all that, because that's what's traumatizing with people, and that's what makes everybody the way they are, because they have this threat or this fear that they're going to go to hell. And I guess, you know, the church did a good job in indoctrinating the masses. Who cares what church, but that fear that they implant in people, that's got to go. That's primitive.
Yeah, they definitely did do a good job, no matter what religion or dogma it is. They have certainly planted the fear of a fiery lake that you're going to burn in, you know, of some sort in the afterworld. And I got to be honest, I have no fear of any type of punishment for the things that I've done. I do believe in a higher power source as the all, or the one, the bornless one. But I don't believe for any reason that I would be punished in a traditional sense like that.
Like if you're good, no matter what you are,
yeah, I mean,
why are you going to get punished?
Worst case scenario, maybe
saying that you sinned by being born, you sinned. That's already out of the line. Like, oh, you're a sinner because you were born. Like, that's like the biggest attack out there.
Well, I think the worst case scenario, maybe I'll be sent back again because I haven't reached the full level of what I'm capable of or should have achieved. That is possible, and I believe that that's a possibility. But I don't also shy away from that, because I enjoy life and I love it. And if I have to live it again 5 times, 10 times, 15 times, so be it. I won't remember the one before it, but I'm still probably going to enjoy it either way. But hopefully this is the last one for me personally. I hope that I can in this lifetime achieve the ultimate level of Master Adept and maybe move on to bigger things. Maybe someday kids will be summoning me for advice. And I could show up at the altar table would be my ultimate hope. But no, it certainly is very interesting. We do have a comment from Destiny Ray that says, "Yep, we are chosen before birth to be weird." True, which is to that statement that we were saying earlier. As I don't think that we, are weird and that's what makes us into magicians. I think that we are magicians and that's what makes us weird. Is I do believe that it's embedded into our bloodline, because if you look at cultures, Indian, Hindu, any of these type of different cultures, a lot of times there was specific people who stood out from others that were made the shamans or made the priests, because of the fact that they had a gift that the others didn't have. It was a rarity. There was always workers, there was always civilians, there was always kings or royalty, there was soldiers, there was all these different things, but there was only ever a very select amount of people that became the priests or the shamans. And that's because they are a rarity, but they were usually stuck out like a sore thumb. You would see them, and I think that's people like ourselves. You could distinguish one in between a million. Yeah. And I think that's always been me. I think everybody's always been like, look at this weirdo. But you know what? That's cool. I'm happy about that, because as you said, it made us exactly who we are today, and I would change it for anything. I love the life that I live. You actually answered one of the questions I was going to ask, is what would you tell someone starting out? Pretty much your sentiment was, stick to your guns, be you, don't worry about being different. Just embrace who you are as a person. So I certainly like that. Now, before we wrap up for the evening, I do always want to end this, in the same way that I end all my interviews over the years, and that's going to be, tell us about any projects or anything you want us to check out, such as your group page that you have started on Facebook that maybe people can look for more knowledge. Tell us who it is that you would like to thank, and anything else as far as a wrapping up statement.
All right, so just wanted to touch this point that when this pandemic started, I decided to use Facebook again after like maybe 7 years of having it and never using it. So this whole time I'm over here thinking like, where is everybody? Like, how come I never meet nobody that likes magic? Like, I would like to like do a ritual with somebody else, or like, share knowledge. And sure enough, this time I started using Facebook, I realized there's groups of magic and stuff. So I was like, wow, I thought we were going extinct, and obviously we're not. So that got me really happy, to the point that, even though there's some pretty cruel people out there, or like very negative people, I'm just happy that we're here and that we're flourishing, So the only thing I didn't like was that they're still trying to keep everything a secret, and they confuse secret knowledge with keeping it a secret, which is very different. Secret knowledge means that it's hidden from simple sight, but if you look hard enough, or if you put work into it, you'll discover the power it has. So I believe that knowledge is for everybody, and that whoever looks for it should find it. And once you find it, you should practice so that you can understand it. And once you understand it, maybe you could control it. But, there's a different opinion and all that. So I believe that, knowledge should be shared, and whoever can make the cake, like you said, should be able to eat the cake. So, I kind of had like altercations with other practitioners about the knowledge part. So I decided to open this group called House of a Mentee, which is still kind of like, starting, or like maybe it's already where it's going to be, who knows. But, I like to share what I discover. I like to share or ask questions with others, and, just have communications with other practitioners. And I think that if anybody wants to join. If anybody wants to talk about anything, talk about it. Who cares? And, give opinions. Like, there's no limit. There's no certain way that you got to be. There's no, there is rules, but, each one has to, pay for their own, put in their own work, and pay their own consequences, and learn their own ways, So I really advise people to, get in contact with other people like themselves, and, work together, learn together, and get this magic community going, and stop acting like the inquisitors, because we don't got to worry about them anymore. But it seems like now we got to worry about other magic practitioners. So I really encourage to stop bullying other students or practitioners who are just starting, and stop labeling or limiting the practices. I think that nothing is complete until you unified all the knowledge. So it doesn't really matter what you're practicing. Like, you should always consider other types of practices, and, in the end, make like a big brainstorm of everything, and include everything. Don't exclude, exclude all the bullshit for sure, but keep all the good knowledge from everybody, and, be more respectful with other people's decisions, because I guess the beliefs, you could challenge it. You could challenge any belief, but once a person has decided what is it that they concluded, you got to be respectful for that.
Yeah, because that's their reality, whether it's yours or not.
Yeah. And when it comes to religion, I really feel like religion has failed us greatly. So I think that stripping power off of it should be a big deal, or a big decision that you need to take, and incorporating only the good stuff that you got from it onto your new set of mind will be helpful. And never detach from God. God is always going to be your number one provider of essence and life, and from there you can connect to any of his emanations and work with them. And, as long as, how Alistair said, you do what you will, as long as you don't hurt nobody, as long as you're not, destroying anything, like, for no purpose, and, do whatever you want. Just keep a clean conscience out there, and you'll be fine.
No, I agree. I mean, that's a very important thing is exchange ideas, accept people for their ideas, whether they're yours or not. Always seek higher knowledge. Do what thou wilt as long as you're doing it in a way that's not hurting others. That's a strong point for me is my practice is never harm another individual unless there's a reason that other individual needs to be harmed. And that's what people should live by. So obviously I want to thank you, for coming on the show tonight, Ramses, and for sharing with us your knowledge and your experiences. Before we wrap up for the night, is there anybody specific that you would like to thank?
Oh, yeah. I want to thank all the grandmasters that are seen as traitors for, releasing some of the information to the public. But I think that's what Thoth would have wanted. I think that's what Buddha would have wanted. I think that's what all the grandmasters would have wanted, for the whole world to actually have knowledge to be able to differentiate between the indoctrinations of either magic or religion or belief systems, or even just a human way of thought, and break those chains, and make everything available so that people could be a little bit more intelligent when it comes to making decisions, and we don't have wars just because of the name of a god or the belief that a woman should act certain way or be certain way, or that these guys are worshiping this deity, or the right deity is this one, or you shouldn't worship other deities. All that stuff, it's not worth war or killing somebody or keeping people stupid. It's not, or just, money shouldn't be the reason for not releasing free energy for the world, all those things, they really make this world a horrible place that cannot ascend because of greed, and evil. The only evil I've ever known is actually human. I don't think any angel or any demon has ever caused so much evil as a human has. So I think that we're falling even lower than any entity has ever fallen before. And that's my warning to humans, that they need to, snap out of that evilness that comes in the human nature.
No, 100% agree with you. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, you heard it, folks. Certainly make sure you check out Ramses's work, and you can do that on Halls of Amenti, which is on Facebook. It is a group you can join and learn a lot of great things, not only from his posts and his knowledge that he's sharing, but several other members of the group as well. So make sure you check out his work. Make sure you like, share, and follow this episode. Share it around to your family and friends. The more that you do that, the more that it moves us up the podcast community rankings. As I said before, it's on all online major platforms out there, so listen where you feel comfortable. And if you have any suggestions, any things you like that we're doing, that you don't want us to do and would like to see us do differently, or just want to talk to us, you can send us an email and drop us a line at celestialoddities@gmail.com. And again, that's celestialoddities@gmail.com. That is our parent company. My company, Celestial Oddities, runs several radio shows, this being one of them. We do want to thank you for your support in checking us out tonight and on any past episodes. And make sure, if you're not doing anything next Thursday, the 19th, that you do tune in for another episode from 8 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be bringing on Thomas Leroy, who is the owner and founder of Sect of the Horn God, which is a satanic group that is a little bit different than the last couple groups that I've had on the left-hand path. He runs an atheistic satanic group, so we've been bringing on theistics such as myself who believe these entities are real standing living beings. They take more of an atheistic, that they are all currents within themselves. So it'll be interesting to pick his brain and see his thoughts and philosophies on things and compare notes. So this one was a little bit of a deviation from the left-hand path of the last couple episodes, which is always a good thing to break that up. We are going to be bringing on all backgrounds of magic and theory on this show. But next week, we are dipping back into the left-handed path side. We will be taking a break for the Thanksgiving season on that following Thursday, but then we come back on December 3rd with one of my favorite authors and occultists in the scene, Arundel Overman, to be talking about a lot of different things from his books and work to Solomonic, Goetic magic, to everything in between. He runs a group that I am a part of, which is the Order El Gol, and just a lot of great topics coming up on that episode. So make sure you tune into those too. We'll be bringing John Vermillion up in December as well. Talking about John, I just received Asaya Kailuxa, which is a book I've been heavily waiting for, in the mail right before the show started
amazing.
tonight. So yes, it's a hardbound, gorgeous book. I'm actually salivating over it. So as soon as I get off here, I'm going to go read it before I go to sleep, at least a little bit of it. So if you're listening out there, folks, yeah, it's an amazing book. If you guys are out there, make sure you check out every one of our guests out there, follow their work, support them, and keep magic alive. Share love and positivity amongst each other, as Ramses said. And other than that, we'll catch you next episode. All right, Ra, thank you for coming on the show tonight. And
thank you guys for everything you do. Thank you.
Absolutely, and we'll catch you next time. Everybody have a wonderful night. We'll catch you on Nights of the Nephilim.
Good night, everyone.